it's the Baby Sleep Engineer, and I am so excited to talk about toddler bedtime and nap struggles. As the mom of a 3-year-old, I know this struggle all too well, and I'm a little obsessed with toddler sleep as well, so I'm super excited to be here. If I'm looking down, it's because I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of things that I'm super excited to talk about. I don't want to miss anything. So first of all, say hi if you're here. Let me know you're here, and let me know what brought you here today, why you showed up, what's going on in your house. Feel free to post a question, whether it's a clarifying question on something I say, or if you think you have a pretty unique situation and you need help bouncing around ideas, comment, let me know. And if you are here for the replay, if you were not able to catch it live, please comment replay. Let me know what brought you to the replay, and let me know if you have any questions. I will be monitoring the comment feed long after the live. So I have a list of problems here that my thinking is that some of you or all of you are experiencing some or all these problems. So if you can relate to nap and quiet time fails, I'd love to hear from you. So if your child is in a bed, are they completely just destroying the room, throwing their books around, all of their books, their stuffed animals, their toys? They stay in their room maybe, but they destroy it. Or they just pop in and out of their room during nap time, and you find yourself spending the entire nap time pleading with them, begging them, demanding, getting angry with them about staying in their room or sleeping, and you are just spending all your time trying to negotiate, and you're not getting your break at all. And you may find yourself thinking, this nap isn't even worth it. Let's just drop the nap altogether. So if that's you, I'd love to hear from you. Other problems, won't stay in their bed or won't stay in their room, or if they're still in a crib, they're climbing out repeatedly. They have a million requests at bedtime. They need another hug, they need another book, they need more water, they need to go potty 16 times. Or if they're in a crib, they are, hi Lily, they're throwing their sippy cup of water or their books or their toys out of the crib and then demanding that you come and fetch it for them, and that becomes a game for them to get you to come back into the room. And all these combined can leave you with bedtime taking hours, and you end up dreading bedtime every day, flipping a coin with your spouse to see who's going to do it tonight, because it's epic. It takes a long time. It's just full of negotiating. You're exhausted by the end, and it's just no fun. So I have a lot of tips and tricks, none of them proprietary, but I've seen a lot of suggestions in Facebook groups. I have made a lot of suggestions in Facebook groups, and I have read about and experienced a lot of these problems. So I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve. So the most important part of solving any of these issues, which is easier said than done, but is to come up with a plan that you can stick to. That means picking a strategy or picking a couple of strategies and seeing them through. What I see, now some children are going to respond better to one strategy over the other, but what I see a lot with clients is that or parents in general, is that they come to me and they say, I've tried everything. Nothing works. And when I dig into that and when I really get into what's going on, what I find is they made a plan. Maybe it wasn't super well thought out, or they weren't confident about the plan because they don't know a ton about sleep, and they go to implement that plan and it doesn't work right away, or it doesn't work well right away, or it doesn't work as well as expected. And then the parents, because their child is throwing a tantrum or crying or whatever it is, and it's not a fun experience and you're not confident that it's working, you abandon it. And so what ends up happening is you try 7 or 10 or 15 different things halfway and nothing works. And the more things you try in succession without seeing anyone think through, the more confused your kid gets. They don't know what to expect from you, and things can get worse and worse. Hey, Darcy. Now, I recognize that this is easier said than done. I have myself been in the situation where I try something, even since becoming a sleep consultant, and it's not working like I wanted it to, and then I want to try something new. Well, let's try something different. Let's try something different, and it just doesn't work like that. You need to pick a strategy and stick to it. So all people, but especially children who have very little control over their day-to-day lives, they thrive when they know what to expect from us. They thrive on structure, on routine, hi Mahaley, and on healthy boundaries. It's our job as parents to set and enforce those boundaries, and it is literally their job to push the limits and to push those boundaries. And that can leave us feeling a bit lost. Sorry, so I am not a child behavior specialist by any means, but I know a lot about toddlers and sleep, and I definitely have some things to share with you guys. If I really hope that I say something today that resonates with you, that you just think is going to be the magical thing that's going to fix everything, and you walk away and you implement it and it works, and that's what I hope for you. If you're like me, however, and you walk away from today feeling overwhelmed with all the options and not knowing where to start, that's where I can help in a more one-on-one capacity. So feel free to comment, I'm overwhelmed, I'm lost, at the end, or if you're watching the replay, and I'll reach out. Or you can hit me up in the DMs, or you can book a free 15-minute intro call through my website, babysleepengineer.com, which will also be linked in the description in the replay. I can help come up with a plan that looks at sleep at your house holistically, looks at the environment, looks at how they fall asleep, looks at how you handle middle of the night, looks at the schedule, looks at everything holistically, and makes little changes, maybe in every category, to sort of create the perfect sleep environment and to create the conditions under which your child is better able to succeed at what you want them to do. So don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that my tips and tricks are super helpful and not overwhelming, but if they are, I am here. And I work with children 0 to 5. I work with children who were previously sleep trained. A 6-month-old that was sleep trained can turn into a monster when they're 2 or 3 and they're climbing out of the crib or waking up in the middle of the night asking for water or to go to the bathroom 10 times. So don't feel like a sleep consultant is only for sleep training. I do sleep training for children up to 0 to 5, but I also can help you come up with a plan to tackle some of these more behavioral issues. Quick disclaimer about independent sleep. Most of these tips and tricks can work and will be relevant and helpful to you, whether your child is falling asleep on their own or if they are needing your assistance. Maybe you're laying down with them, you're nursing them to sleep or rocking to sleep. There are, when we talk about independent sleep and sleep associations, that's sort of one category of sleep issues. And we can talk about behavioral and boundary pushing issues. And those are 2 separate issues. And a lot of these tricks can help your child with the boundary setting and all that. But if your child is needing your assistance to fall asleep and is waking up many times a night, that's probably a sleep association issue, not a boundary pushing issue. And we might need to tackle that in a different way. So again, comment if that's you, or DM me, or set up an intro call if you want to just chat about how I might be able to help. So the key tricks I'm going to talk about fall into a few different categories. Those categories are communication, positive reinforcement, giving your toddler more control, keeping them well rested, and setting and enforcing boundaries. And then I have a couple of miscellaneous tips to throw in there. So in communication, toddlers, they understand so much. And just like I'm sure many of you are giving your like 10, 5 to 1 minute warnings when you're leaving the park, we need to communicate to them about what is expected at bedtime as well, especially when we're making any changes. But even if we're not, telling them over and over again what to expect at bedtime or quizzing them about what bedtime is going to look like is super helpful in mitigating or avoiding and preventing a lot of these bedtime struggles. So for example, with my daughter, she is recently in a bed, and I probably quiz her once a day. Hey, when are you allowed to get out of your bed? And to which she responds, when my light turns green. She knows. And I know she knows, but I ask her every single day, at least once a day, just so that she can say it over and over and over again. And I ask her every day, at least once a day as well, how do you get big and strong? To which she replies, I eat my vegetables and I take my naps. The taking the naps part is sometimes a lie, but I do think that it makes a difference. With toddlers, you really, 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 really cannot repeat yourself enough. You should be a broken record. If there are things that you want them to do, that you want them to internalize, do not stop saying them over and over and over again. I taught high school for 3 years, and I feel like that applies to high schoolers as well, but especially with toddlers. They are not focusing on those little things. You have to repeat them. Some ways to help you communicate. If you're making any big changes, or if things aren't going well and you need to talk to your toddler about how we're going to improve them, I highly, highly recommend having a family meeting, talking about what are your sleep rules? You know, have you talked to them? Do they have to stay in their bed, or do they just have to stay in their room? What are they? Let's talk about them. Turn it into an art project where you draw pictures of the different steps in their bedtime routine, and they can, and the different, you know, if the rule is they stay in their bed, you know, you draw a picture of them laying in their bed. And as you are going through your bedtime routine, that art project is up on the wall, and you say, okay, cool. We brushed our teeth. We did this. What's next? And just as a visual reminder of these are the things we do before bed. Always talk about sleep rules when it's not bedtime. We don't want to nag them 15 minutes before bedtime when they're getting their 15 minutes of playtime before you're taking them off to bed, which is something they don't want to do. Talk about the sleep rules at lunch when when everyone's in a good mood and no one's super tired and not frustrated. When you are implementing any sort of change and you're dealing with toddlers and sleep, and this is really easier said than done, stay calm. Do not get visibly frustrated or exasperated. That will not help. Telling your toddler, I'm so frustrated with you, you're not sleeping, is not an effective way to get them to do what you want. When there are nighttime misbehaviors or they're doing something at night that we don't want them to do, we are not talking to them about those things at bedtime. We're talking, or during the night when it's happening, we are talking to them about these issues the next day. So, hey, you got out of your bed a lot last night. Let's talk about our sleep rules. And then you're visiting your art project in their room. Let's talk about that. The rule is that you're supposed to stay in your bed or your room all night long. Let's work on that tonight. Don't forget that. Also, role playing. This has been super effective with my daughter. We role play bedtime when things get a little sticky. So we have a baby monitor, and we have our routine, and she will sometimes want to play herself in the role play, and sometimes she wants us to play her, and she wants to be the mom with the monitor. And so we will go through the bedtime routine as role play. We will pretend it's the middle of the night and role play, and it's made a huge difference. I highly recommend that. Positive reinforcement. So I know there are a lot of posts I've seen on Facebook about sticker charts, and they're great tools if your child is over 3. Usually with under 3, the delayed gratification thing just does not work that well. They can't delay. So sticker charts. If you're doing a sticker chart for kids 3 or older, you want to set it up so that at first it is fairly easy for them to get stickers. And you want to make the rewards not super duper big, because then it's not sustainable. So for a 3-year-old, you want them to earn something like 7 stickers, or if they're getting multiple stickers a day, stickers over 7 days, 5 or 7 days, and then they get their reward. And if you don't, if you want it to be a toy, you can have them pick it out, or you can pick it out ahead of time. Sometimes parents even will pick out the reward and set it on top of the refrigerator, and the kid sees it but can't have it until they get their stickers. And they can earn you can sort of decide how they earn stickers, but they can earn a sticker for not delaying bedtime, for doing all the steps in the right amount of time. And they can get another sticker or 2 for staying in bed all night, for not calling out. And you really want to start this sticker chart with things that they can actually succeed in. So I see a lot of posts about, oh, my kid, has never stayed in their bed all night, ever. And we're going to do a sticker chart. And I think often we need to sort of ease our kids into, I guess it would work for some kids, but I do think it's a hard switch to go from never ever sleeping in your bed all night to like, oh, you get a sticker if you stay in your bed all night. I think that in a lot of cases you're setting your kids up to fail, and we don't want to do that. So I know there's an organization called 212 Behavioral. I'll put a link in the description. And they do behavioral consults with families. And they've designed these little, like, I don't know, they're like yay big good choice coins that are super cool, and you can pre-order them. And I'll put the link in the description. And essentially for kids, probably 2.5, 3 and up, every time they make a good decision, whether that's staying in their bed or going through their bedtime routine quickly, they get a good choice coin, and they can collect these coins in some sort of like piggy bank or some sort of vessel. And when they get a certain number of coins, they get to turn them in for more screen time, or they get to turn them in for an ice cream cone, or whatever it is in your household that will work. And those are super cool. I'm definitely going to be buying those for my daughter. So that's communication. The second one is giving your toddler more control. So giving them choices at bedtime. Do you want to brush your teeth? Do you want to brush your teeth first or go potty first? Do you want to wear the dinosaur pajamas or the unicorn pajamas? Getting out of bed tickets for a kid that is getting out of bed multiple times, and sometimes for legitimate reasons, like they need to go to the bathroom. One thing you can do is issue 1 or 2 get out of bed tickets per night. And what those can be used for is anything they want. If they want to get out of bed for a hug, if they want to get out of bed or their room to go to the bathroom or get more water, whatever it is, they can come out and get that thing. But once the tickets are gone, they're gone. And I have heard of children who are so concerned with running out of tickets that they won't use any of them. So this can be an extremely effective tool. And I have plenty to say, and I can talk for 30 minutes, but if you have questions, or if something I'm saying is resonating with you, please comment, say hi, let me know what's going on in your house, and I'll try and untackle it. Also, one thing that has worked well at our household was our daughter was calling us back. She wanted a book or a stuffed animal or another hug or another song. And it was becoming quite the struggle because she would call us in multiple times. And so we instituted a thing called one more thing, that she can call us back into her room one time to make a request, whether it's getting her more water or helping her pick out a book or something. Hi, Andrea. She keeps needing me. I'm going to need a little more. Okay, what I'm saying. Cool. Awesome. Let me know if you have a question or if anything is confusing. And that's really helped. She knows that when we finish our bedroom routine and we leave, that she can call us back in one time. And that gives her a lot of reassurance and lowers sort of her bedtime anxiety. Sometimes she doesn't even call us in. She falls asleep. Most of the time she does. Oh, don't leave. Stay with me. So that happens to us too. And instituting one more thing has been super helpful. And anytime, if you're going in to do any reassuring or going in after you're done with your bedtime routine, you want to make it pretty brief. And if you say you're only going to go in one time, definitely only go in one time. But that might be really helpful for you, Andrea. Okay, keeping them well rested. This is super important. I think a lot of toddlers, they don't want to sleep, and I think often we get convinced that they don't need to sleep as much because they're older, and that is hardly ever true. Them being well rested can impact everything. And in some cases, I would recommend to some parents, just move bedtime earlier, and that might solve all your problems. So I never recommend a bedtime later than 7 for kids 0 to 5. And I know that's a little bit different if you have an older kid that's still napping, but earlier, so a lot of times our kids start to skip naps between 2 and 3, and they will start to accumulate a sleep debt because they're skipping naps. And then they will start skipping naps because they're overtired. It like exacerbates the problem. And I always tell parents, whether they're skipping naps or not, if you're having bedtime issues, pull bedtime back. I can't tell you how many times I have recommended a 5 or 5:30 bedtime for a toddler. I have put my child to bed at 4:50 before when she has been on an epic nap strike. So in order to ensure your kid is well rested, really these early bedtimes are magic. Avoid nap skipping if you can. And if your toddler's sleep is mostly okay, but you're in a constant wave of like, it's fine, and now it's not so good, and now it's fine, and now it's not so good, most likely your child is not severely overtired, but is on the edge of overtired. And when they're on the edge of overtired, if they just get kicked a little bit more overtired, then you start seeing the bigger problems, and then things will go back to normal. And what I recommend to those folks is move bedtime earlier, maybe 15, 30 minutes, to sort of keep them off the edge of being overtired. Boundaries. So some of these are actual physical boundaries. So one is keep the crib as long as you can. So if I have a client, I always recommend keeping them in the cribs till 3. If they are under 2.5 and out of a crib and you are having bedtime struggles and you were to say, want to hire me, I push very hard to bring the crib back. If they're over 2.5 and they're out of a crib and they've been out of a crib for a while, it's a little more case by case. But I recommend bringing the crib back all the time. So if you moved from crib to bed in the 2s and things aren't going well, there is nothing to say that you shouldn't bring the crib back. Oh, I see your question, Lily. Sorry, I needed to scroll. Love the point about talking about rules and expectations outside sleep time. I forget to do this. Also, reminder to role play. Sweet, awesome. Andrea, what if they nap over 2 hours and wake at 3 p.m.? What would bedtime be? So generally speaking, for toddlers, my recommendation is 4.5 hours after the nap ends. I think a 7:30 bedtime, even though I previously said 7 p.m. 7:30 bedtime is fine for a toddler if they're sleeping well. And what may end up happening, what happens with a lot of toddlers, is we have to start capping that nap. So if you put them to bed at 7:30 and they're not falling asleep till 10 or 9 or something like that, it might be time to say, okay, well, I'm going to wake her at 2:45, or I'm going to wake her at 2:30, and sort of incrementally cap that nap. If you're having bedtime issues. So one of the boundaries, if your child is out of a crib, I always recommend putting up a baby gate. Not as a punishment, not to lock them in their room, but to show them a physical boundary, to like that it helps them see, to have a visual cue as to this is where I'm allowed to be. And with my daughter, she's not allowed to get out of her bed. So the baby gate is sort of like, if she were to start getting out of bed or start struggling, that would sort of be our first line of defense. Is she asks us not to close her baby gate. And so, we would sometimes have to say, okay, well, you're not staying in your bed, so I'm going to close your gate. And that would likely result in her getting back into bed. So kids don't have self-control, or they don't have very much of it. So oftentimes we are giving them too much freedom and expecting way too much. So when we move our newly 2-year-olds to a bed, and we expect them to stay in it, we're setting them up to fail. It's not. I think it's not very fair to them to ask that much of them. Some kids do great. Most kids do not when they're moved that early. Okay to wake clocks, another great boundary. I have a video about how to implement okay to wake clocks, which I think is maybe one of my best videos. I'll link it in the description, but it's on my website, thebabysleepengineer.com. I hear from parents all the time on Facebook and clients that say, oh yeah, we have one, we tried it, it didn't work for my kid. It works. You just have to implement it right. It's user error. 99% of the time, it's user error. It works. We're just not implementing it correctly. So check out that video if you have a toddler that you maybe is waking up too early or is not staying in their bed. Silent return. So if you don't want a baby gate, you don't have a baby gate, and your child is leaving their room over and over again, and maybe ending up in your bed or just disrupting your sleep. Silent return is a really effective way of getting them to stay in their bed. And the reason I say silent return is because many parents return their kids to their beds 2 or 3 or 17 times in the course of a night. But they're engaging too much with their child during that return that it is reinforcing the behavior. So when I say silent return, I am saying no eye contact. You're not tucking them in. You're not saying good night. You're not having a conversation about staying in their bed. You are literally zombie walking them to their room, making sure they get into bed, and you are walking out. You want it to be as unrewarding as possible so that they stop. If you have a toddler who is in a bed and is causing mayhem and throwing books and toys and everything all around and just completely destroying their room, take it all out. I know that's maybe not possible if you're in a tiny space and, maybe you like the fact that the kids' stuff is sort of contained in their room. But if they're 3 or 4 or 5, it is okay for their rooms to be solely for sleep and to be super, super boring. So take it out. And, maybe with the sticker chart or the good choice coins, maybe they can earn it back. Maybe they can earn the responsibility of having their books back if it means that they're not getting into too many things. One thing we have in my daughter's room, there are no toys, but there are stuffed animals and books. And our rule is she can't get out of bed. So she can kind of reach her bookshelf if one of her toes is still on the bed, which is hilarious. But when we have a rule that she can bring 1 book into bed with her at night or at nap time, 1 or 2 books. And that has helped curb her desire to get out and pull a bunch of books off the shelf. So it's something you can implement as well. Maybe all the books are out, but they get to pick 1 or 2 to take into nap time or into bedtime so that they can read before they fall asleep. Read. Let's see, other tips and tricks. Remember, we cannot make them sleep. Whether your child is 2 weeks old, 2 years old, or 16 years old, we cannot make them sleep. We can only create the conditions. We can only create good conditions to encourage them to sleep, and we offer them opportunities to sleep. We cannot make them sleep. If your child develops a fear of the dark, and you're wanting to do a nightlight, get that as low wattage as possible and make sure that it is not blue. Blue is stimulating and messes with our melatonin, and it can keep us up, which is why if you're on your phone at night, it can keep you up because it's blue. Anticipate their asks. If they ask every night to go to the bathroom, make sure they're going before bed. Cut liquids early. Or if they're always asking for water, leave a sippy cup of water by their bed. So anticipate these things so that they don't have a reason to call you. They'll come up with new ones, but maybe they won't be as good of reasons. Don't rush bedtime routine. I know that especially if you're trying to hit the early bedtimes, and especially if you have 2 working parents, and you're getting home and you're trying to do dinner and maybe bath and bedtime routine, and maybe you have multiple kids and everything is a rush. Don't rush the bedtime routine. This is a time for you to like help your child calm down, wind down after the day, at the end of the day, and have one-on-one time with you to connect and to get their emotional cups filled. So don't rush this piece. Really, you want that bedtime routine to be 20 to 30 minutes. Also, decrease the number of activities that are associated with bedtime so that their opportunities to delay are decreased. So here's my example with my own daughter. So the things we do leading up to bedtime are we brush teeth, she goes to the bathroom, she puts on a pull-up, she picks out and reads 2 books, we get to cuddle for 5 minutes, we sing songs, and we leave. What we started doing, and this is fairly recent, is we started doing all the things that don't need to really take place in her room. So go pee, put on her pull-up, brush her teeth. We do those things maybe 5 or 10 minutes before bedtime starts. And we get her to do those things quickly by saying, okay, Alice, let's go brush our teeth, do pull up and go to the bathroom. And then you can play for 5 more minutes. Instead of let's go brush our teeth and go to the bathroom and go and get our pull up on as a part of going to bed, it's more of, hey, you can earn 5 more minutes of playing time if we do this real fast. And we haven't had any issues since then with those aspects of the routine. She tries to delay other parts, but there just aren't that many other parts left for her to delay. Let's see. I'm just gonna do a quick plug for crib climbing. Crib climbing does not mean you need to move to a bed, and I have a video on that as well. Repeated climbing the crib is pushing a boundary, and if your child is repeatedly climbing out of the crib and you move them to a bed, you're essentially rewarding them for climbing out of the crib. And I have tips and tricks for how to prevent them or teach them not to climb out, and that video is also on my website, babysleepengineer.com, and I will post that link as well. All my website links will be in the description, but please reach out if you have clarifying questions, either in the comments or if you think I might be able to help you come up with a plan on how to implement some of these strategies. I know toddlers can be tough, and I know a lot of parents who have toddlers and brand new babies, and they're totally lost. Oh, I'm seeing some more questions. What if they're climbing out of the crib at 2 or 2.5? Check out my video, but essentially keep putting them back in that crib or put them in a sleep sack and teach them that climbing is not okay and that not climbing out is one of the sleep rules. I would not switch them to a bed. Absolutely not. How do you handle it if they keep asking to go to the bathroom? So I would, cut off liquids. I've heard as early as like 5 or 6 p.m. and let them, make sure they go to the bathroom beforehand. And I would probably do bedtime tickets for that. And so if they can go to the bathroom, if they need to go to the bathroom, they can use their tickets. That would probably be my go-to. Hi, Sarah. I'm so glad that you're here. I know that you are about to have a couple of little babies, but thank you for joining. That is everything that I wanted to say. But again, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you need someone to help you come up with a plan, I am here for you and happy to help. I do free 15-minute intro calls just so that you can get to know me and chat with me and see if I'm a good fit. And I also offer 30-minute strategy session calls if you feel like you have sleep kind of under control and you just need a couple of easy tips. And then I offer a myriad of sleep consulting plans, which involve a video consult, a detailed sleep questionnaire that you would fill out, and then I write a customized plan telling you exactly step by step what to do. And as you're implementing the plan, I am there every step of the way via email or phone, helping you implement the strategies and making sure that it works and that things are going well. Hello. I'm gonna hop off now, but please keep posting questions if you are watching the replay, comment replay, and yeah, please let me know why you hopped on and what you're struggling with, and I will do my best to help. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Con, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another live. I've not picked the topic yet. You can DM me with suggestions if you'd like. And if you'd like to find out when, if you'd like to get event reminders for these lives that I'm doing on Wednesdays, like my Facebook page and follow me on Instagram. I'm mostly on Facebook, but I am on both. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week.